So today's conference brings together incisive minds across the academia, industry, and policy to do exactly that: exchange ideas, challenge assumptions, and co-create knowledge that is both rigorous and relevant. We are also proud to announce and acknowledge that this year, our platinum sponsors for the conference are Sindh HEC and 𝗓𝗗𝗄. Our silver sponsors are Faisal Funds, Suneri Bank. Our in-kind sponsor for the backdrop is Beyond Differentiation, and for giveaways it is Unilever Points. And lastly, in-kind sponsor 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲 Investments. In order to officially commence this event, I invite to the stage Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲 to recite a few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم وسخر لكم الفلك لتجري في البحر بأمره وسخر لكم الأنهار وسخر لكم الشمس والقمر دائبين وسخر لكم الليل والنهار وآتاكم من كل ما سألتموه وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها إن الإنسان لظلوم كفار. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. It is Allah who has created the heavens and earth and sends down rains from the sky, causing fruits to grow as provision for you. He has subjected the ships for your service, sailing through the sea by His command, and He has subjected the rivers for you. He has also subjected for you the sun and the moon, both constantly orbiting, and He has subjected the day and night for you. And He has granted you all that you asked Him for. If you tried to count Allah's blessings, you would never be able to number them. Indeed, humankind is truly unfair and totally ungrateful. Thank you.
Jazakallah, Dr. Umar. Moving forward, I would request the audience to please rise for the playing of National Anthem of Pakistan. It is my privilege to introduce Professor Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, a distinguished academic leader, researcher, and educationist with more than 45 years of experience in higher education, engineering, computing, and academic governance. Professor Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲 is currently serving as the Vice President Academics at the SZABIST University, where he oversees academic operations across all 5 campuses. He is a recipient of the prestigious Best University Teacher Award by the Higher Education of Pakistan, Lifetime Achievement Award and Gold Medal by the Pakistan Engineering Council at the 𝗗𝗗𝗄𝗲 in 2021. To formally welcome all of you, I request the patron of conference, Professor Dr. 𝗗𝗄𝗲𝗄𝗲, to kindly approach the stage for a welcome address.
Thank you. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Respected Chief Guest, Professor Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi Sahab, Chairperson, Sindh Higher Education Commission. Distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Christina Wieser from the World Bank. Honorable guests, respected panelists, researchers, faculty members, students, our proud sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. On behalf of the senior management of SZABIST University, President 𝗗𝗗𝗄𝗲, Vice President Administration and Human Resources, Mr. 𝗩𝗗𝗄𝗲, Vice President Finance and Development, Ms. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, and myself, Vice President Academics, extend a very warm welcome to all the respected participants attending the SZABIST International Conference 2026 that has been organized by the Faculty of Management Sciences at SZABIST University. Today we have gathered at a time when the world is experiencing unprecedented economic, geopolitical, environmental, and technological transformations. Across continents, business, governments, and societies are facing challenges. We all know Pakistan has been facing a serious economic crisis and challenges over the past many years. To highlight a few challenges as follows: external debts, internal circular debts, persistent budget deficit, balance of payments and foreign exchange reserves pressures, low export growth and limited export diversification, high inflation and cost of living, unemployment and underemployment, low tax to GDP ratio, weak industrial productivity and competitiveness, energy shortages and high energy costs, political and policy uncertainty affecting investment, skills gap and low human capital development, climate change and water resources challenges, and decline in FDI. And there are so many other factors. In such circumstances, universities have a critical responsibility to provide knowledge, research, and thoughts for awareness in society and perhaps to influence the policymakers. This year's conference theme, Leading Sustainable Business Growth Amid Global Conflicts and Challenges, is both timely and important. Conferences such as this provide an excellent opportunity to exchange knowledge, learn from different perspectives, and explore practical ways forward. I am particularly pleased that this conference has brought together leading experts from academia, industry, government, and international institutions. We are especially honored by the presence of our chief guest, Professor Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi, Chairperson of Sindh HEC. His commitment to strengthening the higher education and promoting academic excellence has made a significant contribution to the development of universities across Sindh. We are also privileged to welcome Dr. Christina Wieser, Senior Economist at the World Bank, whose work and insights on economic policy and development are recognized internationally. We look forward to benefiting from her valuable perspectives. Over the next 2 days, the conference will feature keynote addresses, panel discussions, and research presentations covering important areas such as finance, human resource management, marketing, entrepreneurship, supply and chain management, sustainability, and public policy. Tomorrow we will also have an important session on the budget 2026-27, which is, I hope, likely to be announced today. Well, it was postponed many times. So this session will be participated by the leading economists of the country. I am confident that these discussions will generate useful ideas and encourage meaningful collaborations among participants. I would like to congratulate the Dean of the Faculty of Management Sciences, Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, the organizing committee, faculty members, staff, and student volunteers whose hard work and commitment have made this possible. They deserve our appreciation for bringing together such a high-quality academic event. Once again, I thank all the researchers, authors, presenters, participants who have joined us from different institutions and organizations. Your contribution is what gives value and meaning to this conference. I am also extremely thankful to all the sponsors, especially Sindh Higher Education Commission, for funding this event drastically. Finally, I warmly welcome to all of you to SZABIST University and wish you a productive, engaging, and successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Altaf Muqati, for a very warm welcome. Now we proceed to the keynote speech for today. Our keynote speaker at the day one of our conference is Ms. Christina Wieser. Ms. Christina Wieser is a senior economist with the World Bank's Distribution Impact of Policies team. She is also currently based in Pakistan. She has worked across South Asia, the Middle East and North Africa, and East and West Africa. Christina's work centers on economic mobility, welfare measurement, and distributional analysis with a strong emphasis on high-quality data collection to inform evidence-based policy making. Moreover, she currently focuses on poverty, jobs, and displacement in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Let us all warmly welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Christina Wieser, to the stage for her speech.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for welcoming me here. I'm very happy to be here. It's a privilege to be part of the third SZABIST International Conference, and I really want to commend the organizers for choosing such an important and pertinent topic, leading sustainable business growth amid global conflicts and challenges. Couldn't be more important at this point in time. I want to start with a very simple proposition. Jobs provide more than just a paycheck. They provide dignity, purpose, and hope for the future. For most households around the world, and certainly in Pakistan, the most reliable pathway out of poverty is a productive job. Not a government transfer, not remittances from a relative abroad, a job, one that pays a living wage, provides some stability, and connects a household to the broader economy. And for nearly 2 decades, this is exactly what happened in Pakistan. Thank you. Let's see if this works. Between 2001 and 2018, Pakistan achieved something remarkable. The national poverty rate fell from 64% in 2001 to 22% in 2018, lifting nearly 35 million people above the poverty line. This was driven overwhelmingly by one thing: rising labor incomes. Workers moved out of subsistence agriculture into off-farming activities: construction, trade, transport, small-scale manufacturing. And real wages grew by about 2.8% per year during this period. But that progress has now reversed, as you see on this chart. Based on the latest data from the Household Integrated Economic Survey, 2024 to 25, which is the official survey used for poverty estimation in Pakistan, the national poverty rate has risen to 29%. An estimated 72 million Pakistanis live below the poverty line now, up from 49 million in 2018. This is the first sustained poverty increase in Pakistan's modern survey history. Today, I want to walk you through why this happened and what it means for anyone in this room who cares about sustainable growth. Because the evidence is unambiguous. Pakistan is generating jobs, but not enough, and not the kind that generate prosperity. Let me start with the growth model itself. Pakistan's economic trajectory over the past 2 decades has been characterized by short spurts of high growth, followed by longer periods of low growth and very high volatility. We saw strong growth in the early 2000s, another spike around 2016 to 18, but these were always followed by contractions, a fiscal crisis, a balance of payments adjustments, an IMF program. And then, in and after 2020, Pakistan was hit by a sequence of compounding shocks of extraordinary magnitude. COVID-19, devastating floods, a macroeconomic crisis, and recent record high inflation, peaking at nearly 38% in mid-2023. And all this amid heightened political instability. The pro-poor growth literature, those among you who are very well aware of it, 𝗗𝗏, Ravallion, Bourgeois, tells us exactly what should happen under these conditions. The poor cannot smooth consumption through downturns and suffer permanent welfare losses from a temporary shock. Each bust leaves a higher floor of poverty, and that is precisely what Pakistan's data confirm. But there is what's truly striking. It's not just the growth slowed. The relationship between growth and poverty reduction broke down entirely. Our analysis identifies 4 distinct periods. 2001 to 2011 saw strong pro-poor transmission. So growth lifted the bottom of the pyramid and helped many out of poverty. 2011 to 2015, growth still reduced poverty, but less efficiently. Then from 2015 to 2018, the link weakened further. Poverty reduction slowed to a crawl. And then the most striking period, 2018 to 2024, is where we see outright decoupling between growth and poverty reduction. GDP per capita grew, modestly, but it grew. Yet, real wages fell during this period, and poverty subsequently increased. Growth bypassed the bottom of the distribution altogether. For the first time in Pakistan's modern history, higher GDP per capita coincided with rising poverty. This is a structural break from what we've seen in the past. And it tells us something very fundamental. The nature of growth, not just its rate, determines whether an economy creates shared prosperity or not. And the data tells us exactly where these gains went. The growth incidence curve for 2018 to 2024, which shows how consumption growth was distributed across the entire population, is stark. What we see is that real consumption fell across the bottom 70%, with the poorest deciles suffering the steepest losses. Only the top 20 to 25% of households saw positive consumption growth. The rest lost. I'm really struggling with the clicker. Yes, thank you. The Gini coefficient jumped from 28.4 to 32.7. This is the highest level in over 25 years. The bottom 20% share of total consumption fell to just 8.4%, the lowest on record. So the puzzle of rising GDP alongside rising poverty is not really a puzzle at all. The economy did grow, but all the gains accrued to the top of the distribution. And for the majority of Pakistanis, growth was not just insufficient, it was invisible. Now let me turn to the labor market, because this is really where the growth model meets households. The first thing the data show is a surging labor supply. Since 2018, Pakistan's working age population has grown by 4.6 million people per year. Of these, 3.6 million joined the labor force each year. Labor force participation rose from 52 to 57%, the highest in the country's history, driven primarily by a remarkable increase in female participation, which rose from 24 to 29%, and youth participation, which jumped from 38 to 45%. This, in principle, is very good news. More Pakistanis, especially women and young people, want to work. But job creation can not keep up this labor surge. While 3.6 million people entered the labor force each year, only 3 million of them found employment. The gap pushed unemployment to an all-time high of 7%, with more than 5.7 million Pakistanis unable to find work, even though they're looking. The unemployment picture is deeply unequal. Women face a 10% unemployment rate, youth face 12.2%, and urban women are the hardest affected, with nearly 17.5% unemployed in cities. And among young people, aged 15 to 24, nearly 3 in 10 are not in employment, education, or training. This is particularly striking for young women, where 45%, almost half of 15 to 24-year-old women, are not in education, employment, or training, compared to just 13% for 15 to 24-year-old men. This is a 32 percentage point gap that reflects the structural exclusion of a vast share of Pakistan's young female population from both economic but also educational life. And another challenge, the jobs that do exist are getting worse, not better. Even for those who do find work, the quality of employment has deteriorated. More than half of all jobs in Pakistan in 2024 are what we'd classify as low-pay subsistence. These are daily wage laborers, unpaid family workers, low-skilled self-employment, or agricultural labor. The share of these low-quality jobs has actually increased since 2001. Meanwhile, what we'd classify as good jobs, formal, non-agriculture, skilled, account for less than a third of total employment. And their share has been shrinking over time. 85% of all employment remains informal. Among the poorest, that figure is even higher at roughly 95%. And this matters, not because formality is necessarily a good or bad thing, but it matters because formal wage earners earn nearly twice as much as their informal counterparts, and this is significantly more than the self-employed. This brings me to what I consider the most fundamental finding. Structural transformation, the engine that powered poverty reduction for the past 2 decades, has stalled. Between 2014 and 2024, the share of employment in agriculture declined from 40 to 34%. On its face, this looks like progress because workers are moving out of agriculture. But where did they go? They did not necessarily go into manufacturing, which is typically an engine for development. Manufacturing's share of employment has been stagnant at about 15 to 16% only over the past decade. Within manufacturing, it is the low technology activities that dominate, accounting for roughly 3/4 of all manufacturing jobs. High technology manufacturing contributes to just 1% of total employment. They also didn't go into high-value services. Global innovator services, which we'd consider IT, finance, professional services, account for less than 2% of total employment and generated just a fraction of the new jobs over the past decade. Instead, where did workers go? Workers moved overwhelmingly into low-skill, low-productivity services and construction. Low-skill services now make up almost 1/3 of all employment and 72% of jobs in the services sector. The consequence? Well, labor reallocation has been characterized by displacement out of agriculture, but rather than a genuine transition into more productive sectors. Workers are moving sideways, not up. Aggregate productivity has been essentially flat for over a decade across all sectors. The total economy produces the same value per worker in 2024 than it did in 2014. For the business leaders in this room, this matters enormously. When structural transformation is shallow, when workers move between sectors of similarly low productivity, the traditional engine of welfare breaks down altogether. More people are working, but the work itself does not generate enough income to lift them out of poverty. And this brings me to perhaps the most striking finding in our analysis: the collapse of real wages. Until 2018, real wages for paid employees grew steadily at about 2.8% per year. Since then, since 2018, they've been contracting by 3.4% per year. Daily wage workers, the most vulnerable segment of the workforce, have seen the sharpest decline at roughly 5% per year. To put this in concrete terms, the same worker, in the same job, in the same location, with the same skills, earned 12% less in real terms in 2024 than they did in 2018. This is not a composition effect. We conducted a so-called 𝗗𝗄𝗄 blinder decomposition, which is a standard econometric technique that separates wage changes into what is explained by changes in worker characteristics versus what is explained by changes in the returns to those characteristics. And what we found is unambiguous. The entire wage decline is driven by collapsing returns, not deteriorating worker quality. The workforce in 2024 was actually more educated than in 2018. The problem is not that workers became less productive per se. It's that firms are paying less for the same worker. The wage shock compressed returns from the top. Returns to seniority collapsed. So the more years of work you have, you're not necessarily better off. Returns to education fell sharply. The wage premium for being more educated has compressed, weakening the human capital incentive. The urban wage premium also narrowed. So did the formality premium. For those of you who run businesses, this should be concerning. When investing in education and experience is no longer a reliable translator into higher wages, you are eroding the incentive structure that sustains human capital. If sustained, this will distort schooling and training decisions for the next generation of workers. And this collapse in labor incomes is the dominant driver of rising poverty. Our shapely decomposition attributes the 6.8 percentage points national poverty increases to non-agricultural labor income contributed to an increase of 10.5 percentage points, agricultural labor income to 4.9 percentage points, and asset losses to 1.2 percentage points. So all of this was partially offset by social protection and remittances. But overall, the decline in labor incomes across the board has been the #1 predictor for poverty increase. And the labor income shock was remarkably uniform across the country, across sectors, and across workers. So a natural question then is, why aren't businesses creating better jobs? The answer lies partly in the structure of Pakistan's private sector. Data from the Economic Census 2023 shows that a staggering 96% of all economic establishments in the country employ fewer than 10 workers. The economy is dominated by micro and small enterprises that are too small to grow, formalize, or invest. Among the formal firms that were surveyed in the Enterprise Survey of 2022, 3/4 of them did not hire a single new permanent full-time worker in the last fiscal year. 97% introduced no new products or services in 3 years. 95% made no capital investments. This is a largely stagnant enterprise sector characterized by survival rather than expansion. And critically, when firms are asked what constrained them, labor-related issues are among the least binding constraints for them. Only 2% cite labor regulations, and another 2% cite an inadequately educated workforce as their main obstacles. Instead, firms point to political instability, access to finance, corruption, tax rates, and lack of electricity. The implication is clear. The binding constraints to job creation lie outside the labor market itself. Subdued job creation reflects broader structural and demand-side constraints that limit firms' incentives and capacity to grow. So what is to be done about it? The evidence points to a policy agenda organized around 4 mutually reinforcing pillars. First, strengthening the foundations for sustainable growth. And I use the word sustainable growth on purpose. Nothing I've described today can be reversed without comprehensive structural reforms that ensure macro-fiscal stability and provide private sector-led growth. This is the prerequisite, the essential foundation for any other policy pathway toward prosperity. The stalled structural transformation must be restarted, but this time into productive sectors. It means rolling back anti-export bias and tariff distortions, improving electricity and logistics, and creating the preconditions for formal manufacturing and tradable services to absorb workers at scale. Unlocking labor-intensive sectors, textiles, agro-processing, light manufacturing, could reignite the poverty-reducing structural transformation that stalled after 2015. At the same time, we cannot wait for structural transformation alone to deliver results. We need to lift productivity where the poor already work. In agriculture and low-skill services, we need to boost yields and farm incomes through improved input access, irrigation, and digital extension. We need to raise productivity in informal services through skills development and small firm finance. Second, we need to invest in people, places, and access to opportunities. Pakistan faces a human capital crisis that constrains both individual earnings and aggregate productivity. Addressing it requires investing in public services, health, education, skills development, and creating new opportunities, particularly for women and youth who increasingly want to join the labor market. The persistent exclusion of women from productive employment and youth from productive employment represents both a missed opportunity for equity, but also an enormous economic cost. We need to expand childcare, safe mobility, and vocational pathways for all. Third, we need to build resilience. Because one important topic I haven't covered in details are repeated shocks, natural and other shocks. The data show that when shocks hit, Pakistani households, especially the poorest, bear the brunt and recover slowly, if at all. Protecting people against shocks and economic hardship requires enhancing the responsiveness of social safety nets, such as SZABIST, and making the National Socioeconomic Registry more inclusive, so that adaptive social protection can scale up rapidly when the next crisis arrives, whether it's a flood, a price spike, or a macroeconomic contraction, to shield labor incomes from the price and climate shocks that are certain to recur. And fourth, prioritizing progressive fiscal interventions. None of this can be financed without getting the fiscal framework right. This requires balancing optimal tax policy to promote growth while reducing the burden on the poorest segments of society, enhancing municipal financing mechanisms, and eliminating inefficient subsidies that disproportionately benefit wealthier households. When subsidies flow to the top and taxes fall on the bottom, fiscal policy amplifies inequality rather than correcting for it. And I think we're all very curious what the new budget, which is hopefully announced today, will bring in these respects. In closing, let me leave you with this. The conference theme asks us to consider sustainable business growth amid global conflicts and challenges. The evidence I've presented today suggests that growth without good jobs is not sustainable growth. Pakistan's experience since 2018 is a powerful illustration of what happens when the nature of growth, consumption-driven, informal, low productivity, fails to generate the jobs that connect households to prosperity. But there's also some reason for hope. For the first time since the poly crisis in Pakistan, we have both a household integrated economic survey and a labor force survey for the same year, 2025. The evidence base has never been stronger. We know what is happening. We know why it is happening. And the policy levers are identifiable. The question, therefore, is no longer what is happening, it's what are we going to do about it. For those of you who are in industry or business leaders, the quality of jobs you create matters. For those in academia and the students, the research pipeline on labor markets and poverty in Pakistan is rich and urgent. And for policymakers, the data are now available to design evidence-based reforms that can restart the engine of shared prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christina, for an enlightening speech. It is my privilege to introduce our chief guest for the SZABIST International Conference 2026, Professor Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi. Professor Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi is the chairperson of Sindh Higher Education Commission and a distinguished ENT specialist and head and neck surgeon with over 43 years of experience. Dr. Rafi has been recognized for his lifelong contributions to medical education and public service. He has been awarded the 𝗗𝗄𝗄 by Government of Pakistan. He has served as the Dean of ENT at the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan, and Pakistan Society, and the President of Pakistan Society of ENT. He has brought tremendous reforms in the higher education and research in Sindh province. We are honored to have him here among us. Ladies and gentlemen, let us warmly welcome Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi as he approaches the stage for his speech.
Madam Shahnaz Wazir Ali, President SZABIST, 𝗗𝗄𝗲𝗄𝗃 Sahab, Christina Wieser, Senior Economist, World Bank, all the distinguished participants and faculty of the SZABIST, 𝗗𝗄𝗃𝗄𝗃 Sahab, I cannot see 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗃𝗃, my regards to her also. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. I'm really thankful to all of you for inviting me to this very important seminar that you have on leading sustainable business growth and global conflicts and challenges. The right time to have this seminar as we are going to have a budget this day today, hopefully. And I hope that this budget brings about some changes which Christina has very clearly pointed out, and a very good survey that we have made us all aware of. It is both an honor and a pleasure to join you today at the SZABIST International Conference. I would like to commend the Faculty of Management Sciences, SZABIST, for bringing together an impressive gathering of academics, industry, leaders, policymakers, and development practitioners to deliberate on one of the most pressing questions of our time. How can we sustain economic growth and business development in an increasingly uncertain and fragmented world? The theme of this conference, that is the leading sustainable growth and global conflicts and challenges chosen by the Dean and his team, is not only timely but also deeply relevant to the realities which is faced by our nation. Business and societies across the globe, we are living in an era marked by a profound transformation. The world economy continues to recover from successive shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, climate emergencies, technological disruptions, and rising economic inequality. Conflicts in various regions of the world, as we all know. Every day we hear of America going to attack Iran and then Trump deciding not to. And today I was reading in the newspaper that they are about to sign an agreement, a peace agreement, at the end of this week, maybe by tomorrow. Sometime I hope that does happen, because that has turned many economies, especially that of Pakistan, into a turmoil. Disrupted energy markets, increased inflationary pressures, and general uncertainty for business and government have all contributed to what we see today. At the same time, humanity is witnessing extraordinary technological advancements. Artificial intelligence, automation, digital platforms, biotechnology, renewable energy systems, and data-driven decision-making are reshaping industry and redefining our future. These developments create unprecedented opportunities, but they also pose complex ethical, economical, and social challenges to all of us. Against this backdrop, sustainability is no longer a peripheral concern. It has become a strategic imperative. Today, sustainable business growth must be understood not merely as a financial expansion, but as a growth that creates economic value while safeguarding environmental resources, strengthening social inclusion, and ensuring long-term resilience. Business can no longer measure success solely through quarterly profits. Increasingly, investors, leaderships, environmental stewardship, and social accountability. The concept of sustainability has evolved significantly over the last few decades. What was once viewed as a corporate social responsibility initiative has now become a center to competitiveness and long-term business survival. Organizations that fail to adopt sustainability challenges risk losing relevance in an increasingly conscious global marketplace. For countries like Pakistan, the pursuit of sustainable growth presents both challenges and opportunities. Pakistan possesses immense potential, as we all are aware of. We have a young and dynamic population of around 66%. Strategic geographical location, which is both fortunate and at times very unfortunate for us. Entrepreneurial talent and growing digital capabilities. Yet we are also facing significant constraints, including climate vulnerability, energy insecurity, physical pressures, skill gaps, and institutional challenges. The devastating floods of recent years served as a stark reminder that climate change is not a future tense. It's not a future threat also. It is a present reality. Pakistan contributes a relatively small share of global greenhouse gas emissions, yet remains among the countries most vulnerable to climate-related disasters that we have seen. These realities compel us to rethink traditional models of development and growth. The private sector has a critical role to play in this transition, very clearly pointed out by Christina. Business must become active partners in building climate resilience, promoting green innovations, investing in sustainable technologies, and creating decent employment opportunities for our labor. Equally important is the role of public policy. Governments must create enabling environments that encourage innovation, investment, entrepreneurship, and sustainable economic growth. Regulatory frameworks should reward responsible business practices while facilitating technological advancements and economic competitiveness. However, there is another institution that is often overlooked in discussions about sustainable development and business growth. This institution are the universities. Universities are not merely center of teaching, they are engines of innovation, knowledge creation, critical thinking, and social transformation. Higher education institutions occupy a unique position at the intersection of knowledge, industry, and public policy. They prepare our future leaders, generate research-based solutions, and contribute to evidence-based information policy making. As the chairperson of Sindh Higher Education Commission, I firmly believe that universities must become active participants in addressing society's most pressing challenges. The challenges of sustainability, climate change, technological disruption, governance, and inclusive growth require interdisciplinary approaches that transcend traditional academic borders. We must therefore strengthen collaboration among academia, industry, government, and our civil society. The traditional model in which universities produce research while industry operates independently is no longer going to work in our environment. Today's challenges demand stronger partnerships, deeper engagements, and continuous dialogue. Industry-academia collaboration can generate sustainable growth. Businesses gain access to cutting-edge research, innovation ideas, and skilled graduates from the universities. Universities gain practical insights, real-world applications for research, and opportunities for meaningful impact. At Sindh Higher Education Commission, we have been immensely trying to bridge the gap between the academia and the industry. For that purpose, we are organizing every year the linkage between the industry and academia, and SZABIST is one of the participants in those programs where children bring their projects and the industry people are invited to look into them and make a contribution on their part. They create platforms where diverse stakeholders can exchange ideas, challenges, assumptions, and collectively explore solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight another important dimension of sustainable growth, that is the human capital. No nation can achieve sustainable economic development without investing in its people. The future economy will increasingly reward knowledge, creativity, adaptability, and problem-solving skills. Technical expertise remains important, but employers are also seeking graduates who can think critically, communicate effectively, collaborate across disciplines, and navigate uncertainty. Universities, therefore, have a responsibility to continuously upgrade their curricula, strengthen their research, and align educational outcomes with emerging labor market needs that we have. At Sindh Higher Education Commission, we are encouraging innovation and strengthening institutional capacity across Sindh higher educational sectors. We recognize that the future of economic competitiveness depends upon largely on the quality of our human resource. Investments in education are not merely social expenditures that are strategic investment in any national development. Another area deserving attention is entrepreneurship. Historically, universities focus primarily on producing job seekers. Today, they must also nurture and try to produce job creators. Entrepreneurship, innovation, and startup ecosystems have become powerful drivers of economic growth worldwide. Young people equipped with knowledge, skill, and access to supportive ecosystems can create solutions to local and global challenges. Pakistan's youth represent one of our greater assets. By empowering them through quality education, mentorship, research opportunities, and entrepreneurial support, we can unlock significant economic potential that we have. I am encouraged by the growing number of innovation centers, incubators, and entrepreneurship initiatives emerging across our universities throughout Pakistan. These efforts must continue to expand and evolve. Distinguished participants, as we discuss sustainable business growth, we must also remember that sustainability is fundamentally about inclusion, not exclusion. Economic growth that excludes large segments of society cannot be considered sustainable at any cost. Women, youth, marginalized communities, persons with disabilities, and undeserved regions must have meaningful opportunities to participate and benefit from the economic development of this country. Inclusive growth not only advances social justice but also strengthens the economic performances. Research consistently demonstrates that diverse organizations tend to be more innovative, more resilient, and better positions to navigate our complex challenges. Therefore, promoting inclusion is not only a moral imperative but also a business imperative for us. Similarly, technological transformation must be accompanied by efforts to reduce digital divides. While emerging technologies offer tremendous opportunities, unequal access to technology risks widening existing inequalities that we have in our society. Ensuring equitable access to digital tools, skills, and opportunities should remain a priority of any government, educational institutions, and businesses alike. The Sustainable Development Goals provide a valuable framework for addressing many of these interconnected challenges. Achieving these goals require collective action, long-term commitment, and cross-sectional collaboration. Universities have a particularly important role in advancing the SDGs through research, teaching, community engagements, and policy support that you have. Higher education institutions can serve as a catalyst for sustainable development by generating knowledge that informs action and empower our communities. I am pleased to see that this conference embraces a multidisciplinary perspective. Complex global challenges rarely fit nearly within disciplinary boundaries. Effective solutions require economists, business leaders, environmental scientists, policymakers, sociologists, technologists, and educators to work together in an inclusive atmosphere so as to bring a change. The future belongs to those who can collaborate across sectors, disciplines, and boundaries. As I conclude, let me leave you with 3 reflections of my own. First, uncertainty is not an excuse for inaction. We always hide behind that, and that is not correct. Rather, it's a call for innovation, adaptability, and leadership. Second, sustainable growth requires partnership. It requires inclusion. Without inclusion, you cannot have a sustainable growth. No single institution, sector, or country can address today's challenges on its own and alone. Third, education and knowledge remain our most powerful tools for shaping a better future. Investment in research, innovation, and human capital will determine our ability to navigate an increasingly complex world. I encourage all participants of today's conference as an opportunity not only to share research, finding, but also to build partnerships, generate new ideas, and identify practical solutions that can contribute to sustainable and inclusive development. I once again congratulate SZABIST and its team for organizing this important conference, for its continued commitment to academic excellence, research and society impact. I wish the conference every success and a very good deliberation for the next 2 days. I was just going through the newspaper in the morning and going through the economic survey of Pakistan. And few things that it's not only what we talked about. Pakistan is continuously bleeding. The economy is suffering because of the loss of resources that we have. We still have a meager resources. The most important are the IPPs, which are taking a brunt of all the resources. And second are the state-owned enterprises. Government has got no business to do business. If they go into business, this is what you see. Everyone realized this several decades back, and that is the reason they have progressed. In Europe, they have given up business as a part of the government job. But in Pakistan, except PIA, they have been unable to privatize any of. Discos are losing lots of money. All private enterprises, steel mill, you can name any one of them, they are losing money. You can never sustain whatever growth you have. And one important factor which we have failed to mention is our growth rate. With this growth rate of 2.8, Madam is there, she is a part of those team which are controlling birth control teams, but unfortunately you people have failed to do that. I don't know what is the reason for that. Bangladesh, which had a much stronger, more population at the time of separation, are now much better than us. 1.2% growth rate. I think we have got 2.8% or more than that. 2.8. So with this growth rate, you can never succeed. So at the same time, when we are trying so much on improving our industry, improving our growth rate, and when the federal government is asking the provinces to give some share, nobody is talking about how to reduce how to cut down. And there's no religious obstacle in it. I can tell you with certainty, everyone agrees to that this is one factor which can never let Pakistan to become one of the strong nations. We can utilize this youth, 66% of ours, like China has done, or any other country like India has done. But unfortunately, we, as very clearly said by Christine, that they are employed in jobs which are of no technological significance, only labors. And that is not contributing to the country economy. This year, economic survey, though they were, Aurangzeb Saab, the finance minister, has put a very bright picture and a silver lining. But if you go into the detail of it, and I was just reading it, everything has gone into negative, from the industrial growth to the agricultural growth to everything has gone into negative. And as very clearly said, after 2018, we are on a sloping slide going downwards. So I think whatever discussions you people make, I am positive that will produce some result. And please put your recommendations to the government so that they can think over it. It's not this that what we are talking about is not known by the people who matters. They know better than what we know because they have more insight of it. It's only how do you feel about it. Those at the top become rich and rich. Those at the bottom become poor and poor. Unfortunately, those at the top are the rulers, so they care less. So that is the basic thing that matters. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I took a long time, but I said this is the right forum to talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tariq Rafi, for your valuable words. Now we proceed to the segment of giving vote of thanks to our chief guest and our keynote speaker. I will now invite the conference chair and the Dean of Faculty of Management Sciences, Professor Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲. Dr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, you're requested to kindly approach the stage.
Madam President, 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, Professor Dr. 𝗩𝗲𝗄𝗲, respected 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, and Ma'am Nasreen is not around. The chief guest, Professor Dr. Tariq Rafi sahab, and keynote speaker, Christina Wieser, I warmly welcome all of you here. And related to this conference, I strongly believe the contribution from the researchers, policymakers, and all those participants who will look for these valuable insights all are keenly welcome here. I will take few moments to reflect on the significance of the conference. Sincere gratitude is extended to all guest speakers, panelists, researchers, and delegates around. The presence of such distinguished attendees demonstrates the importance of creating collaborative platform. Academia, industry, government, and civil society must come together to discuss these challenges which are being shaped around us. And the panel of keynote speakers comprises more than a dozen of CEOs, directors, and economists. I will warmly welcome all of them, some are today, some are tomorrow. And the conference was conceived with a simple but important objective. It creates a space where ideas are exchanged and knowledge is shared. It is also a place where partnerships are developed. The response from the academic and corporate community has been overwhelming. Nationally and internationally, papers were received for this conference, and through a rigorous process, we shortlisted 41 papers for the presentation. Valuable contribution from the advisory board, scientific committee, reviewers, and session chairs are deeply acknowledged. Their support helped build a conference that brings together expertise from multiple disciplines and sectors. A special word of appreciation goes to the leadership of the university, including Madam President 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, Dr. 𝗓𝗲𝗄𝗲, 𝗩𝗲𝗄𝗲𝗄𝗲 Sahab, and Madam 𝗓𝗲𝗄𝗲. Their continued support helped us to arrange this beautiful event. And I also extend my deep appreciation to the sponsor, partners, and supporting organization, including Sindh Higher Education Commission. Thank you, sir. Their contribution helped make this event possible. Their confidence in the mission to advance knowledge and innovation is highly valued. Heartfelt appreciations goes to the faculty member and administrative teams. Their dedication and hard work over many months have made this event possible. A conference of this scale are collective endeavor. Their efforts deserve sincere recognitions. Most importantly, thanks are directed to the researcher and the participants. The true strength of any conference lies in the quality of its intellectual engagement. It is a delight to host a community of scholars and practitioners, all commitment to address some of the most pressing challenges of modern era. Finally, I believe the suggestions, recommendations will help practitioner, researcher, and the industry equally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lakhi, for your valuable words. Now we proceed to the segment where we present the mementos for our chief guest and our keynote speaker, for which I would like to invite again our respected Dean and the conference chair, Dr. 𝗗𝗄𝗲, to the stage, please. I would also like to invite the President of SZABIST University, Madam 𝗗𝗗𝗄𝗲 to the stage, please. And the conference patron and VP Academics, Dr. Mohammad Altaf Muqati, please also approach the stage. VP Admin and HR, Mr. 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗲, I would request you to please approach the stage to present the mementos. Now I would request our chief guest, Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi, to kindly approach the stage to receive the memento. Now I would like to invite Ms. Christina Wieser to please approach the stage to receive the memento. I would request Dr. Tariq Rafi to join the group for a group photo with everyone. Ms. Christina, you're requested to please stay back for a group photo. We would also like to invite Dr. Mazhar Ali, the conference secretary, to also come up on the stage for a group photo. Thank you, Dr. Tariq Rafi, Ms. Christina, Madam President, VP Academics, VP Admin and HR, Dean, and Dr. Mazhar. Thank you everyone for being with us at this time. We will now commence we will have our first panel discussion by the 12 p.m. and in the same hall, and we will be proceeding for the tea break towards the courtyard. Thank you.